Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this continuation of FineTech on social media. This particular show is called My Life During COVID-19. And we're basically going to be speaking to certain individuals about how the change in life patterns have affected them and their workplace as well. We have the great pleasure of speaking with Mr. Sohan Silva today. He is the CEO of Suwasariya and doing an incredible work out there for our country. Thank you so much, Mr. De Silva, for your time. We're grateful.
Thank you, Sri Lanka. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, it's our pleasure, really. Okay, so let's just get to a few questions. The first would be, how did COVID-19 impact your life personally as well as professionally?
Let me start with professional, because we started the crisis. We noticed the crisis in January.
Right.
And then we knew this was going to come up, so we slowly got ready. But by mid-March, the call centers, the load was heavy. Generally, we get about 5,300 calls a day. That went up to 9,000 calls a day. And
up to 9,000.
9,000 a day.
Wow. Goodness
and that kind of a sudden spike, we were not ready, definitely. So we had to, overnight, we had to double up our call center capacity. So thanks to technological providers, they helped us. And we had to set up 2 temporary call centers, one in the boardroom, one in the meeting room. And also we had to move our office staff into those call centers in order to cater to that load. That's only on the call center side. But on the ambulance side as well, generally we do about 1,000 plus cases a day. This went up to 1,500 cases a day. 1,500 plus. And also when we transfer a fever or a COVID suspected patient, the ambulance needs to be disinfected at the hospital.
Right.
So that took more time. So our turnaround times at some places were high because we were transporting fever or COVID suspected patients, because the cleanup process, the disinfectant process, and the drying up period is about total about 3 hours.
So really the changes that impacted your company as a whole were actually incredibly different to the everyday business, wasn't it? It was really hands-on, and as first responders, the response had to be quick, obviously.
And also the danger. We knew the danger. We had to always keep ambulances for emergencies. So we had to categorize, and we had to make sure that every district had enough ambulances to respond for an emergency.
Right.
So we have categorized that as well.
Lots to think about. When the pandemic hit and you heard about the curfew, what was your first response? I'm not talking about you as a CEO of Suwasariya, but just you as Mr. Sohan De Silva, family man, responsibilities at home, as well as work. What was your first response?
First response was, I was in Jaffna.
Really?
When the early, like the schools were closing down, I was in Jaffna on an official visit. So lucky my father was down in Sri Lanka, so I called him and said, look, get some stuff, because at that time then it was 4 months. I had a 4-month-old baby. Now it's almost 6 months.
Oh, congratulations.
So, thank you. So you have to make sure that the milk and everything is also there for the little kid. Not only that, you have to plan ahead as well.
Sure.
The kid is growing, so all those things had to be planned. So lucky my father was there to help me out, and plus the supportive wife as well, so who tolerates and understands me. Yeah, I make sure that you.
Goodness, so that was your first response. I mean, I can imagine that that the mind for these individuals who have to oversee such assignments as what you do, it would have been overwhelming.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, you're looking good considering the amount of stress you must have been under over the last 2 months. So you're looking pretty good.
Probably we got used to it now, conditioned to it.
Isn't that,
And
isn't
also,
that
I need to say that I have a great team that helps
right?
out a lot. My team had been the admin team had been working almost all 7 days from about the 15th of March. Not only that, even the ambulance staff, some of them have not gone home for 1.5 months
Goodness me.
because they don't have a way of going home, and also some of them had been asked to vacate their boarding places because people think that our staff would bring in the COVID-19 virus to the boarding, so they've been asked to leave. So these staff are at the base station and they're doing their shift, and when they're off duty, they're still there.
Goodness me, the real heroes behind this entire process. We need to acknowledge them right now, even that.
Yes.
What a sacrifice. And I think it's a shame that we can't surround those people more publicly, to be kicked out of their homes. You'd think the opposite would be happening, that people would be making food, dinner for them after a long day, and, just getting behind these young people, I'm sure, as well as old. So a big thank you to them. I'm sure they're going to look at this interview, and just from Fine Tech, we want to say thank you for your service. That's incredible. That really is. Now, we were having a wee chat before this interview, and you did mention how your reliance on Google traffic, for instance, in terms of how efficient you were out there on the roads, on the streets. I was intrigued. Explain to us the kind of role that technology played in terms of being able to service the population.
All right. Before going on to what the technology, the role the technology was playing during the COVID crisis, I'll quickly explain what the technology plays, what role it plays on a normal day.
Okay.
When we get a call, and there are two ways: either you call from the 1990 app, or somebody will call through the direct 1990 number. If it's a number, we can ask their location, and the system will show us not the closest ambulance, but the fastest ambulance. The only possible way of doing it is because we are integrated with Google. We have about 5 or 6 APIs we are using, and that's the only reason why we are getting those details.
Amazing, right?
All vehicles are fixed with GPS, and every 3 seconds we get their location, the speed, whether strobe is on, brakes, everything is transmitted to head office, to our servers. When the ambulance reaches the patient location, when we dispatch the ambulance,
right,
the location is transmitted to the ambulance driver, which we call the pilot, whom we call the pilot. The pilot sees the location integrated with Google traffic and navigation with the directions to the location.
Fantastic.
When they reach the location, they need to press a button to say that they have reached the location, which gets updated so that we know that they have reached the specific location.
Right.
After our EMT, emergency medical technician, take down the vitals, they take a call to our doctor who's in the office.
Right.
The doctor decides which hospital and what is the treatment that needs to be given.
Wow.
The doctor's screen will show the type of hospital and the type of hospitals nearby. He will select the hospital, and the navigator on the ambulance will get updated for our pilot to move to that location.
Okay.
Immediately what happens, something else also happens the moment we select the hospital, and geofence comes around the hospital so that we know when the ambulance reaches the hospital and reaches out the hospital. But in the event of they need to do a cleanup after dropping the patient at the hospital, they have another procedure where they press a button and the ambulance will not go online. Ambulance will continue on the busy state till they reach back to their base, do the cleaning up, and put the ambulance back online. So even before COVID, all these things were in place.
Right.
So, but with COVID, we had to do some more. So first thing was the outbound, the call center. The second call center we had to set up.
Okay.
So the key was to keep the 190 line available right throughout without call waiting.
Okay.
So therefore, we had to segregate. The moment we get a call, we will check what the requirement is. If it's the emergency, we will respond immediately. If it's not an emergency, we will pass that details to the outbound call center, the newly set up one, that they will call and do what is necessary.
Right.
For example, a fever patient, a COVID-19 suspected patient. But if it's an emergency, we act on it immediately.
Right.
So then the next thing was, we had to make sure that our the base location or the field staff safety. So we developed a set of questions, a questionnaire on the system itself, so that it's a uniform set of questions. The call center agent will ask these questions from the patient party.
Right.
And the system will detect whether full personal protective equipment and full necessary precautions had to be taken.
Oh, I
So
see.
we will then,
I didn't ask all those questions, but that makes sense. They have to assess the situation and appropriate their attire so they're safe. Right.
So then we will re-inform the ambulance that you need to go in full PP and you need to take additional precautions.
Right.
Then, as I told you before, we had to make sure that all the ambulances in the district are not held up at a hospital because of cleaning. So non-emergencies we had to segregate, and it'll take some time, but we always give priority to emergencies. The system had a formula depending on the district, and it'll move the ambulances, the queue, so that always we had ambulances for an emergency. But having said that, I need to tell you now, the town will have only one ambulance. If that ambulance is busy, we'll have to take the other one or the one after. So sometimes, yes, there'll be a small gap. Generally, our response time is about 11.5 minutes average.
Good.
But these days it had gone up about 14.5 minutes because of this average. But some locations, far away locations, it took about 26 minutes sometimes. There was an incident recently. The Dambul ambulance was busy. The one next was also busy. So we had to take the third closest ambulance, which took 26 minutes to reach.
Okay.
Because that particular day, for some reason, all these ambulances were busy in that area.
Right. Right. And I mean, considering the resources that you have, it sounds like you have a system in place because of the technology you're using with Google Traffic and the intricacies of how you've been using that technology. It's allowed you to create a very efficient and safe system. So I think it would be safe to say that a lot of lives have been saved because of Suwasariya. So
we have attended more than 542,000 cases since inception 3.5 years ago.
Wow, that's impressive.
And we have answered more than 2 million calls to date.
2 million calls. Did you say 2 million?
2 million calls to date, yes. More than 2 million calls.
Goodness me. Okay.
All right. So going back again to the question, we had to move some staff to work from home.
Okay.
So some of the call center back office functions, we moved our office staff to work from home.
Right. And how was that in terms of the fluidity of the process? Did you find it was less efficient when you had to make that move?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because considering transportation, their safety, because we had to make sure that their safety was also a top priority. So because we had KPI management, we had a KPI management system, so that was not a major deal for them to work from home.
Right. Excellent.
Then also the 1390, the government introduced a COVID-19 helpline.
Yes.
When a patient calls there, they will decide whether they need to send the patient to hospital or not. Now, a normal scenario, what will happen is they will call us and tell, look, these are the details, you send an ambulance. But here what happened was, we created a link, an API with their system. So they would enter the details on their system, and we will dispatch the ambulance accordingly. So the number of calls, time spent, everything was reduced. And also transmission of data errors, everything was reduced because of the link.
Fantastic. So really, I mean, would you say, let me not put words in your mouth, would you say that when this pandemic hit, the success that we've had, I mean, we have to date, the last time I checked, there have been 9 lives lost in the entire country. And from a global perspective, Sri Lanka has done phenomenally well. And I would say that you, Suwasariya, had a huge part to play in that. Would you say that had you not been, if you hadn't taken that step to digitize the process as you had done, do you think you would have had the kind of success that you have had?
For this success, there were two things. One thing was bringing in technology right throughout from the beginning. We were always thinking of technology when we were implementing anything. Also,
Right.
the second thing was the commitment of the staff. Having technology will not work if you don't have a committed team. So the team commitment was right throughout. So combine the technology as well as the team commitment. We were like we are always like a Formula One team.
Fantastic, a well-oiled machine. And I have to say, the leadership also plays a huge part in terms of the success of such a mission. So hats off to you, sir, for your leadership. And I think your team.
I need to add all the team from Ministry of Health, my
Right.
board of directors, everybody.
Right.
It's not only me.
Right.
Everybody from the Ministry of Health as well as my board of directors and the management team coupled all together and the staff is a success, not a single person.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like you're one of those individuals, those humble individuals that don't want to take any credit by yourself. So congratulations to you, sir. Before we end, I just want to find out more about just in terms of your life after this incredible shift happened in terms of personal life flow with a newborn baby as well. What would your comments be in 5 years from now? What would you say about this season? Looking back, how has it really changed your view of life and just what's important? Family, friends, and work, the balance. And what would your comments be in 5 years from now?
Oh, it's a life-changing experience, definitely. Distancing, making sure, and sometimes the fear of you carrying the virus home and your newborn getting affected, and also the time you didn't have to spend with your newborn. But yes, at the end of the day, you see the satisfaction of what you're doing. Even I think my wife also sees the same thing. She knows she's also satisfied with what I'm doing. So therefore, I think we are doing together.
I'm sure she's incredibly proud of her husband, and in years to come, your little one will see you as a hero, a Sri Lankan hero. So, would you like to say anything else to just encourage the people of Sri Lanka regarding the season that we are in right now? Would you have any thoughts, any words to the people of Sri Lanka?
The final word would be Suwasariya is a team. Once again, I say that, and this team is always committed to come and help you in an emergency. So one more thing I need to request is install the 1990 app. This saves valuable minutes.
Right.
It's a humble request to everybody. Please install the
1990 app. Okay.
Yes. You can find it in Android and Apple both. So install that, because that will definitely save a lot of valuable minutes in terms of telling us your location and the ambulance finding you.
Right. I'm sure, because in that instant, people are panicking. They won't be in their right minds almost to give directions, street names, and so on and so forth. So that makes sense. So to everyone listening out there, that's sound advice to download this app, the 1990 app. Well, Mr. Sohan, any other words? You were about to say something. Were you about to say something there? Okay. Well, I really am so very grateful to you for spending these few minutes with us and sharing your experience. I think honestly, I didn't actually anticipate this would be so intriguing to know what goes on behind the scenes and what has helped so many people, so many thousands of people to survive this pandemic. You've played a huge part. And so I think it's appropriate that we started My Life with you this afternoon to explain to our Sri Lankan men and women what this pandemic has been to yourself. And I think from now on we'll be a lot more embracing of your team when we see them, when we see those ambulances giving way to them on the streets, so on and so forth. So thank you, sir, for your efforts, and much respect, and wish you much more success in the future. Thank you for your service, sir.
Thanks so much.
And that brings us to the end of the show. To everyone out there, be safe and join us for the next episode. I'm Lolanga Dhanapala for FineTech. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Sir, thank you. That was incredible. That was wonderful. Really, I think, you know what? I was thinking, people really have no clue what goes into getting people to the hospital in the ambulance. So I think this is incredible.
I've just mentioned only the technology and what we do in the front end.
Sure.
We have the training. There's quite a bit of training going on. Every 3 months, all EMTs have to go through their trainings.
Okay.
That's why I told you, like, come one day, I need about 1 hour to show you all end to end what we exactly do.
Well, I think the team would be very excited about that, because I'm just impressed that this is happening in Sri Lanka, to be honest. You know, the detail that they've looked into to safeguard the lives of our Sri Lankan people. So thank you, sir. I really appreciate it, and definitely wish you all the very best. And again, your little one is going to be so proud of you to hear about all the work you did during this historical season in the world, you know, that you played such a huge part for our country. So thank you, sir.